Help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content.
Hey, what's up, and welcome to Hot Takes, the show where I take your hot takes throughout the week, the comments that you leave under the videos, and react to them. We got about 5 of them to go to today. We're going to start with Michael Lavinga, who says this: I'm over the national media saying we should trade Myles, but never bring up the cap hit on getting rid of him. This is one of those things that just become a constant if you're a Cleveland fan or a fan of a small market team in general that has a superstar on it, which is the nonstop, endless thirst of every other media market, including obviously the national media market, to just drag that star out of your city, whether it makes sense or not. It's just, that's just always what we end up doing. We just got done with this with Donovan Mitchell, and then people started pulling that shit up again for the trade deadline. Like, Donovan might want out if the Cavs don't make changes. Like, endless amounts of speculation on, oh, well, he needs to get traded. I remember when I was a kid, they would always say this line. It was always bullshit, but it was this line of like, well, he needs to go to a bigger market to be a bigger star because we can't talk about him as much if he's not in New York or LA. It'd be one of the stupidest things you would see, but it was like so constant in like the mid 2000s and 2010s on sports talk. And then like you watch, and you're like, LeBron James became one of the biggest stars in the world playing in Cleveland. We're watching like Donovan Mitchell. If you think about his star power from when he got traded here from Utah to what it is now in Cleveland, he's become a superstar at this point. Like, he's one of the most well-known players in the NBA. You can ask your girlfriend about Donovan Mitchell, whether she keeps up with sports or not. She gonna know who Donovan Mitchell is more than likely if she lives in the States. This is like one of those things. And then people just want to pry Donovan Mitchell out of here. Myles Garrett, right? One of the most well-known players. People want to pry him out of here and act like being in Cleveland is a jail sentence or something like that. It's just annoying national media slop arrogance shit that we get here, right? Like, oh, how could Myles possibly want to stay in Cleveland or whatever? Or the Browns should just trade him, as if the Browns should do a charity to like other teams and trade Myles Garrett to him just to be nice. So annoying. And when you bring up the cap hit, the reason they don't bring up the cap hit is because that clearly throws water over their dream, their fantasy of Myles Garrett getting traded. That's why they don't bring it up. It's inconvenient to them, the idea that the cap hit might be prohibitive. And for those of you who don't know, let's say you trade Myles Garrett, right? These aren't the exact figures. These are just numbers to make an example. But let's say you trade Myles Garrett, but he has like $80 million left guaranteed on his contract. Well, when you trade him, those guarantees accelerate to the current cap here. So to trade Myles Garrett, you would incur a $80 million cap hit if you're the Cleveland Browns, which means that not only if you're Cleveland would you demand to be compensated for Myles Garrett, who is a 3 first-round pick prospect on himself, you would also have to be compensated on the $80 million that you're eating in salary cap in order to make this trade happen. So that makes it so that there's no price for Myles Garrett that the Browns would be willing to accept. Even if you offered them 3 first-round picks, you're just compensating me for Myles Garrett. I'm eating $80 million on the cap for free or for pennies on the dollar, essentially. They're not going to operate like that. And as much as people like to clown on the Browns, when it comes to trades, they're a very sound team. They don't take many bad trades outside of the Watson one, which obviously the circumstances around that are a little different than most trades that the Browns have made. So that doesn't come up because then you have to talk about the trade logically. And that just kills all the fun conversation and speculation you could have. The next hot take is from Gray, who says this: they laugh when the Browns had none of the starting linemen under contract and then blow it off when they finally sign starting level offensive linemen. Good old ESPN. So this is in reaction to a video I did reacting to ESPN reviewing the Browns offensive, free agency class. And one of the things that like shocked me is that I think it was like Dan Graziano, looked at the Browns' offensive line class and was like, well, they repaired the offensive line, but they didn't do anything about quarterback. And it's just like, it just reminded me of how shallow the analysis can be on a national level because you're trying to hit that common denominator. Because people, if you're talking to the lowest common denominator, like they think wide receivers are the only thing that can help quarterbacks. But offensive line, defense, running backs, I think all of those things have a similar, if not bigger, impact to the quarterback position than just wide receiver. Nonetheless, the guy just like blew off the fact that the Browns signed a bunch of offensive linemen as if that doesn't address something core to the team. And it just like shows you the nature of national media criticism, which is just poke a hole where you could poke a hole and just hand wave away anywhere where those holes you poked can be filled. Because we're not trying to actually have a conversation. We're just trying to make content, right? And I think that's just the contentification of sports talk. Jord the Nord, VPN, not a sponsor, hashtag. But Jord the Nord says this: I'm honestly fine going receiver or tackle at 6. I don't think any of the guys in this draft are blue chip superstars, but I also think they are safe bets for solid players. Me personally, I like what Carnell Tate brings to the table, but a Freeling or Mount Noah would be solid too. I think you hit on the core of the issue of having the 6th pick in this draft. If you look at the 5th pick in the draft last year, Mason Graham was a blue chip prospect at the defensive tackle position. There's not any of that this year. There's no blue chips at 6 that are going to be available. There's hardly any blue chips in this. I think there's like maybe 3. Like Arvell Reese, maybe Ruben Bain, Caleb Downs, who plays safety, and then Mendoza, right? Those are the blue chips in this class. The Browns really don't have any need for a safety, especially a strong safety at pick 6. So that wipes out Caleb Downs at 6 for them, right? Ruben Baines, again, there's not a position the Browns need less than edge. Probably not a thing for them either. So for the Browns, their blue chip options at 6 just aren't really there, which means that you have to go down a tier. And I think that's where Carnell Tate, Mao Noah, Monroe Freeling all sit. It's not what you had hoped at the beginning of this process, but you can still leave with a solid player. And I agree with you. If they go Monroe Freeling, I understand that one. I'm not upset about that. If they go Carnell Tate, I understand that pick as well. There's not much they can do at 6 that upset me greatly because I'm not really too tied to one position or the other here. I understand the need for wide receiver. I understand the need for left tackle. You don't have to do both those positions, remodel both those positions in 1 year, though. So if they don't address it fully this year, they have next year to be able to do it. World War Z says this: 5% chance Deshaun is not cooked, but it's not 0. Deshaun will want to show that he could play and he could get another contract in 2027. Deshaun looked horrible the last time he played. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think it's 100% chance that he is cooked, but I think it's a significant chance that he is. I appreciate that Deshaun's going to want to show people he can play, but it might not be up to his willingness to show people he can play. Will he get another contract in 2027? Probably not. He's gonna get like released this year, after this year in Cleveland, no matter what. I do think you bring up a good point, which is the real question is, can Deshaun look better than he did the last time he played? I think if you're Deshaun, that'd be a win, but I don't know if that's enough to keep you in the league, quite frankly. I think you need to be significantly better than you were in 2024 in order for him to stay in the league. And I think the odds of him doing that are just like not high at all. Like not even close. But let's jump to the next one, which is the Carl Grimes hot take, which is this: building the offensive line is like buying a washer and dryer for a new house. You might not want to spend the money, but you need that washer and you need that dryer. That is an excellent analogy, right? Like, that's so core to what you need. Because if you bought a house, right? And let's say you bought a house and you furnished the house, you got all this cool shit there, and then you're feeling good about it, and then a week passes and you realize you have no way to clean your clothes. And you got to take all that shit, all your dirty clothes, down to your car, to the laundromat, if that still exists in your area, and wash your clothes the good old-fashioned way with some quarters and a lot of time. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to be like, damn, I wish I would have spent all that money on a washer and dryer. Maybe I didn't need a 75-inch flat screen when I moved in, right? That's what the O-line, the struggle with the O-line always is. It is, hey, do I want to spend this money on the big screen TV, which is the wide receiver, or do I want to get a washer and dryer and maybe just deal with a normal size TV for a little while? It reminds me of when I was in college, people used to get like their refund checks for scholarships. So if you don't notice, you go to college, you get a scholarship, and if your scholarship amounts exceed the amount of tuition and debt that you have with the school, you get a refund check, much like a tax return, right? You get a refund check of the money from your scholarship. So like a lot of kids, you know, they get their first scholarship refund check. Let's say they got a 20 grand scholarship, tuition's only 15 grand for whatever reason. They took a job as a RA. They don't have any housing charges, so they get 5 extra grand back from their scholarship choices, but from their scholarship refund check. And you see a lot of kids make a lot of bad decisions when they're handed a $5,000 check for the first time in their life. And they don't necessarily feel the everyday cost of living because they have a meal plan and they have housing taken care of and all of that. Building a team is much like that, right? It's like getting that $5,000 check. Your first instinct is, I'm going to buy some irresponsible bullshit. I'm going to go to the club, get a section, run it up. I'm going to go get some rims for my car. I'm going to go and get some shit to make my muffler louder or do something crazy. I'm going to get a paint job. I'm going to get my car wrapped or something like that. That's like the first instinct. But then somebody has to bring you to earth and be like, hey, you know what'd be great? Washer and dryer. hey, you know what'd be awesome? You know, paying for your electricity bill, you know, let's go for, you know, there's stuff like that. So it just kind of reminds me of those lessons you learn as you get older about what you want to drop a big check on or not. But thank you for that, Carl. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you guys for dropping those hot takes. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.